Hey guys, Gerry Morton here. Time for another peak performance mentor session. Looking forward to connecting with each of you guys here in the tribe today, talking about how we can be our best, live our best, and get the most out of each and every one of our days. First off, to kick off, I like to talk about some sort of piece in the news or something that's fresh or just came out. Today, actually, they just released new data that nearly half of all U.S. adults have cardiovascular disease. It is the number one killer in America today. It's something that's by and large preventable and something that we can keep from getting ourselves, but it's something for us to definitely be mindful of. Part of this was the fact that they revised the blood pressure guidelines down slightly, so it's covered more people. So only 9% of people have cardiovascular disease that is severe and doing damage to them, but a much larger percent have high blood pressure and other elements of cardiovascular disease. So it's something that's eminently preventable. There's been a big uptick in recent years. Certainly we need to do whatever we need to do to keep our blood pressure within proper guidelines. That's something that we can do through reduced salt consumption, better exercise, less consumption of sugar and high glycemic foods, and also just being mindful of our overall stress levels, maybe some meditation, trying to balance our drive as entrepreneurs to accomplish things and to make things happen in the world with a little bit of peace and serenity and meditation and mindfulness on a daily basis. So those are kind of some things for us to think about. I will jump right into the questions for the day. Lots of really good ones. One is on the Oura Ring. It's a new ring that was released that tracks your sleep. The question is, do you know about it? What are your thoughts? I'm going to take this a little broader than that and talk about sleep tracking generally. I think the tracking is good. I think the ring, from what I've reviewed on it, looks like a great sleep tracker, which is good. I think, though, tracking your sleep and getting that data is interesting, but the most important part is to get better sleep. So I think the data is valuable insofar as it tells you that perhaps you're not getting as much sleep as you need, and then you can do something about it. But I'd rather focus really on the doing something about it. My guess is that if you're not getting enough sleep, you probably already know. Research has come out showing that less than 7 hours of sleep is hugely detrimental. Also increases risk of cardiovascular disease that we talked about earlier. Also, getting much more than 8 hours of sleep tends to be detrimental as well. So there's really kind of a sweet spot between 7 and 8 hours. I tend to go to bed early. I've mentioned this before. It's been said that every hour of sleep before midnight is equal in value to roughly 2 hours after midnight. I've found that to be true for myself. If I sleep from midnight to 7, I don't feel nearly as good as if I sleep from 10 to 5 or even 11 to 6 for me. I tend to be an early person. I like to get up early. I like to work out in the morning. It's the ideal time for me to work out, which I really enjoy. But getting that sleep dialed in is really important. In thinking about sleep, our bodies are really wired to sleep like in the conditions we have in a cave. Cold, dark, and quiet. So trying to get the temperature down as low as you're comfortable. 68 is usually a pretty good target. Removing all lights and then being careful when you do get up at night, if you get up to go to the bathroom or for some other reason, that you never expose your face to any light. Stay away from the iPhone. Put the iPhone on the other side of the room or the Android because that blue light can just wake you up and it'll be difficult to get back to sleep. If you go in to use the restroom, either use no light or just ambient light, or maybe you have a night light in there, but don't turn on the lights. since that's likely to make it difficult for you to go back to sleep. And then certainly quiet. If there's any noise that you can eliminate, eliminating that is big. Certainly too much alcohol before you go to bed. It's a little bit of a paradox. Alcohol can put you to sleep a little quicker, but invariably it will wake you up midway through the night, and then you'll have a restless sleep afterwards. So typically if you consume more alcohol than you're comfortable with, or that affects you, you might go to bed quicker, but then in a few hours you'll wake up and you'll have a restless night and probably not feel as good the next morning. So being mindful of that, staying hydrated is big. Also trying to wind down, an hour or so before you go to bed. Start winding down. Stop looking at screens. Maybe read a Kindle that's not backlit, or a book or something like that sort of winds you down, rather than any sort of backlit screen or blue light. If you do have to use a blue lit or screen, certainly turn on the night shift mode with Apple, or the mode that dials down the blue light and makes it more warm, which is really important as well. So in response to the Oura Ring, I think it's great. The Apple Watch does sleep tracking, which I don't use. There's a lot of other sleep trackers, but I'm less concerned about tracking the sleep than I am on improving the sleep and making sure that you get 7 full hours of sleep every night. We've got another question here, longer question. It's a good one though. It's a mom expecting a second child. Before she had her first son, she was really fit, did weight training all the time, loved how she looked. After she had her son, this is very common. Life changed, moved, didn't have the same support, stopped working out as much, didn't have the energy or the determination. After the second baby, wants to get back on track. This is the mindset. So when her doctor gives her the okay to start exercising, what's the best way to motivate? I think with this, the most important thing is just to get moving. The first couple weeks, certainly maybe a month of exercise is really tough, right? I mean, an object in motion likes to stay in motion. An object at rest likes to stay at rest. So once you have taken some time off, just understand and be okay with the fact that the first couple of weeks is going to be difficult for you to get back on track. You're going to really have to exert more willpower and get going. The good news is that once you get those couple of weeks under your belt, it then goes the other way, and the object in motion likes to stay in motion. And then you're going to want to just keep going, and you're not going to want to stop because you're going to feel the benefits of the exercise, and it's going to start to kick in. There's another question later that I'll address, but I think importantly here is not to go out and feel like you have to work out for an hour and a half a day. High intensity interval training seems to have the biggest bang for the buck, and I think the 80-20 rule is in effect here, where you will get 80% of the benefit with 20% of the time. If you can do 15 or 20 minutes a day, you're going to probably get 80% of the benefit if you can keep those 15 minutes to 20 minutes high intensity. So even if you have to go run around the block 3 or 4 times with rests in between, do some sprints, do some burpees, a little bit of weights, you're going to get a lion's share of the total benefit out of the workout. If you want to work out longer, you can. There's certain other things that you get from working out longer, converting your body more to burning fat rather than stored glycogen for fuel or blood sugar. And some of those benefits do happen if you go out and work out for an hour or 2 hours at a time. But for what we're talking about here, boosting energy, maintaining fitness, boosting lean mass, you can get most of the benefit in 15 or 20 minutes of hard, intense workout. So I think first off, I would just set your expectations appropriately that it's going to take you a while to work back into it, and that's okay. And then make sure you stick with it, knowing that after you get through that first couple of weeks, it's going to get much easier. I would also do some supplements to help, like we have a pre-fuel, pre-workout drink that's fantastic. I I'd get a pre-workout before you work out. It's definitely going to improve your workout quality, your motivation. You're going to feel better while you're working out and have more impetus to work out. So I would encourage that. Without a doubt, I would certainly focus on hydration. I talk about this a lot, but 70% of daytime fatigue is dehydration related. And if you can just make sure that you stay hydrated, you will eliminate most of the fatigue and tired symptoms that you have, as long as you also avoid high glycemic meals and heavy sugars, which also tend to make you really tired. Those are the biggest culprits for people feeling lethargic or not motivated to get out the door and exercise. So I think those are the kind of the key things, and just stay after it. So here's another question. This person was doing some cleansing that we talked about in a prior session, and some intermittent fasting, which has been fantastic. You see some lightning in the background. It's raining here in California, Los Angeles. It's very unusual when it rains, and it seems like everybody forgets how to drive because they've never seen rain before, or typically don't see rain. There's a little thunder, and it's kind of funny. You go out and all the roads slow down, and people are really confused because they don't really understand what this water is falling from the sky, because we see rain maybe once or twice a year at best. So anyway, it's raining right now, which is uncharacteristic for Los Angeles. The question here is a person who's lactose intolerant, I think, and is asking about whey protein. We have a whey protein isolate that's lactose free, so it's safe for people that are lactose intolerant, has a broad spectrum of amino acids. It's fantastic. Our Pro Energy. This person was talking about buying a vegan non-soy protein powder. We've recently released an organic vegan protein powder that is world-class. It's fantastic. It's under the protein powders section on our website, energyfirst.com. It's an organic vegan vanilla that is phenomenal. So the question was about getting a vegan protein powder. I would certainly recommend that. It's far better than egg protein or egg white protein, as you've kind of outlined there. You can look at the nutritionals and see that it's radically better for a variety of reasons. This person likes to work out, weight train 5 days a week, but come to realize how drained hormonally they feel toward the end of the week. And here's the reason for that. I'm completely aware it's my own fault. The workouts last anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. I would say that an hour and a half to 2 hours is way too long for any of you guys to be working out. I've done 4 Ironman triathlons. I did the Hawaii Ironman in Kona. And when you're doing Ironmans, you're training 12 to 20 hours a week. And the main purpose, as I alluded to in the prior response, the main purpose isn't just to build fitness. It's really, you have to work out really long just to convert your body from burning glycogen in your muscles, stored blood sugar, into just burning fat. So you want your body through training to just immediately start burning fat when you begin working out, and stay fat burning for the whole 12 hours that you might be doing an Ironman. And the reason for that is your body has basically limitless fat stores. Even if you're only 3% body fat, which none of us are, you've got enough body fat to work out for days. Whereas stored muscle glycogen, if we go full out, we rarely, if ever, have more than an hour of stored muscle glycogen available to us, which is where we then hit the wall or we bonk. So training for Ironmans is about going super long to get your body to convert its process into burning fat as fuel rather than carbs. It's not about just boosting fitness or getting stronger or improving the way you look. It's really about just changing the inside of how our body responds to exercise. That's a completely different goal than probably anybody on this live stream has, which is typically fitness, improving your blood panel, improving your energy, feeling better, getting all those benefits of exercise. And to get those benefits, you never need to work out an hour and a half or 2 hours. You can get, again, 80+% of those benefits with a half hour of exercise. I typically work out 45 minutes, maybe an hour per day, which is fantastic for me, feels good. You can work up to that. I think you start out at 15 minutes a day and kind of work up to maybe an hour, I think, on the top end of it. So I think going an hour and a half to 2 hours is part of your problem. If you're going that long, there's probably a lot of downtime. You're probably, again, draining yourself. If you're doing all weights, your body needs time to recover and repair from each of the weight sessions. So you can do 1 or 2 hard sets on a particular muscle group and then rotate it, or you can do all muscle groups in the body every day, 1 set or 2 sets. You can knock all that out in 15 minutes. And it works really well. So, so again, I would dial that back. Question here, would you recommend giving a buffer day in between each day, focus just on cardio to recoup, or take a day off altogether? I like working out every day. But again, I think it's important not to do an hour and a half, 2 hours. Do something every day. I think it's important to move. Motion creates emotion. You end up stimulating all the different signals in your body and really activating your whole body when you exercise. So it boosts your energy, helps your metabolism to work better, helps your digestion. Your entire body flows better. It's really a signal of springtime to your brain. Your brain lights up like a Christmas tree when you're exercising. You get additional blood flow through all the capillaries in your head, which is phenomenal on so many levels. So strongly encourage you to try to work out every day if you can. Maybe you miss a day or 2 a week, but you still get 5 or 6 days a week. But just work out for a shorter period and try to get some really high intensity stuff in there where you get the heart rate up really high. I think that's what gives you the maximum benefit. If you need to take a day off, you're feeling down, go ahead. But I think trying to target doing it every day is beneficial. The next question here is from Nancy, and this is more of a business-related question. When starting a business, making a financial plan, what are the important subjects to consider once the revenue exceeds expenses? Reinvesting profits in the company, something I consider, but what would be other things? Thanks so much. So I think really on that early stage where you are just kind of getting up, I think the focus needs to be completely on sales. I think really building revenue and getting feedback from customers is the most important thing to do in an early phase of a business. I think some people fall into the trap of focusing too much on the product and the systems without going out to the market and getting validation on the product or service that they're offering. I think a lot of that time can then end up being wasted if they end up building a mousetrap that people don't want. The best thing to do is to get out first off, try to get what's often called a minimum viable product, right? A product that's good enough, and then get out to the marketplace, start selling it. And then as you sell it and people have to trade their hard-earned real dollars for what it is that you're giving them, you learn a tremendous amount. You really learn, gosh, this is pretty good in concept, but in practice, this person doesn't want to fork over their money because I'm not hitting the price point, because I'm not touching the value buttons that they're most concerned about. There's not enough pain plus urgency for them to do this, or I'm not positioned right in the marketplace. And then what you do is you reposition and then try again. Clayton Christensen has written some incredible stuff with the Harvard Business Review, and he wrote a book that I love, and he's some of what he talks about is dominant versus emergent strategy. And what we're talking about here is an emergent strategy versus the dominant strategy that you start with. You might go into a business saying, I'm going to do this, and that's your dominant strategy. And if you have a ton of money you can just throw at it, you may keep going down that road, and maybe it's the wrong road. If you don't have as many resources, sometimes it's a blessing, because you're not allowed to just keep banging away in that direction without market validation. You're forced right away to adjust, reposition, pivot in a new direction if the market's not giving you positive feedback, and keep repositioning until you find something that the market is really responding to. And the quickest way to iterate and move that process along is to just to get out and sell. Go to the customer, go to the market, try to get it in front of as many people as you possibly can. And in the process, you're generating revenue, which then helps to fuel everything else. As you're doing that, then when you look at money to invest, you certainly want to take a systemic approach to the business. If you haven't read the E-Myth Revisited, I'd encourage you to read that yesterday. It's really a seminal book on the space, but that's where the idea of working on the business rather than in the business came up. And that's where, with some of that free cash flow, you start taking a more systemic approach to the business, and you start investing in systems, platforms, processes. You find a good financial system, web platform. You start automating your marketing through a variety of different tools. You start, again, building your house so that it's solid for the long term, and something that you see can ultimately support, tens of millions in revenue potentially as you grow and develop. And that's where you can start putting your money. There's always plenty of sources for cash once you start to generate it. People frequently, many of my friends have grown themselves bankrupt or grown themselves to a point where they've struggled because growth is in many ways very expensive, because you end up having to front that inventory and invest in all these people and processes, and cash management becomes an increasing challenge. But in the early phase, just getting sales, keeping it lean until you've got the right market validation, where you can then maybe take on a funding partner where somebody's willing to invest in your business, or you can, again, have enough cash flow to be able to scale appropriately, I think is the next step there. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. Again, think about cardiovascular disease, what a huge killer it is in America, and how we can alleviate that and just be mindful of it ourselves, primarily, I think, by reducing our blood pressure, making sure our blood pressure is in the target range. Try to get enough sleep, no less than 7 hours a day. Stay hydrated. Certainly at least half your body weight in ounces of water per day at a minimum. And go out and make today your masterpiece. Hey, enjoy the day and make it count. Thank you.